My name is Paula, and I've always thought that family should come first. At 33, I've created a good life for myself. I'm a senior marketing director at a tech firm, I have a nice apartment in the city, and I earn enough to support the people I care about. I'll be honest, I'm not a genius, but I've put in a lot of hard work to achieve where I am today. My parents raised me and my younger sister, Lily, in a modest 3-bedroom home in the suburbs. Dad was an electrician, and Mom worked as a receptionist at a dental office. They weren't wealthy, but they ensured we had everything we needed. Lily was always the outgoing one, prettier, wittier, and more social. I was the introverted one, often found with a book while Lily enjoyed parties. A typical sibling relationship, I suppose. When Lily met Jake 5 years ago, it was love at first sight. They tied the knot 6 months later in a small ceremony I helped finance. Jake works in sales, but seems to switch jobs every few months. They often struggle financially, yet they never miss a chance to share vacation pictures online. As for me, I'm single. Dating isn't my focus right now. My job keeps me busy, and honestly, I'm fine with that. It pays well enough that I can support my family when they need help, and they always seem to need it. 3 years ago, when my parents faced difficulties with their mortgage payments, I stepped in. "It's only temporary," Dad said, clearly embarrassed. "Just until we get back on our feet." I didn't mind. I could manage. They are my parents. What was I supposed to do? Let the bank take their house? Then Lily and Jake were unable to pay rent for their apartment. Just for a few months, Lily had promised, her eyes wide and pleading. Those few months turned into years. But I never complained. There were always additional requests too, like when their fridge broke, or for emergency car repairs, or tickets to a concert Lily wanted to attend. I never said no. Today was Mom's 60th birthday, and I wanted to make it memorable. I reserved a private room at Bellini's, her favorite Italian spot, and invited all her friends and relatives. The dinner bill would be substantial, but that wasn't all. I had also arranged a surprise gift, a 10-day trip to Mexico for her and Dad, all expenses paid, including flights, hotel, and tours. They had never traveled abroad before, and I thought it would create unforgettable memories. As I wrapped the gift certificate in fancy paper at my apartment, my phone pinged with an email notification. The sender was unknown, and the subject, "Read family dinner, watch this." Probably spam, I thought, about to delete it, but something made me pause. Perhaps it was Lily being silly, creating a video montage of family moments for Mom's birthday. That would be just like her, stealing my spotlight with something heartfelt while I focused on practical gifts. I clicked the email open. The message was short. "You should check out this video from your family's dinner last weekend." There was an attached video. I hesitated for a moment, doing a quick mental virus check, but curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked play. The video displayed my parents' dining room. The footage was a little shaky, but clear enough. It appeared someone was filming from the corner of the room. Mom, Dad, Lily, Jake, and a few other relatives sat around the table, wine glasses sparkling under the light, all laughing about something. Then I heard my name. "Paula's coming to the birthday dinner, right?" That was Uncle Rob. Mom rolled her eyes. "Of course she is. She's paying for it." They all laughed. A knot formed in my stomach, but I continued to watch. "I don't know how you handle her," Jake said, refilling his wine glass. "She's so dull." "Tell me about it," Mom replied, and I felt as if I had been slapped. Every conversation turns into a lecture about saving money or advancing in a career. No boyfriend, no hobbies, just work, work, work. And yet she got that big promotion, Lily added, shaking her head. "I still don't understand how she's not exactly Miss Personality," Jake snickered. "Maybe she got it through the bedroom, if you catch my drift." They all erupted in laughter, Dad included. My own father. I felt nausea rise in my throat. My fingers trembled so much I nearly dropped my phone. The worst part was Mom kept swirling her wine. "We have to pretend to be impressed by everything." "She does." "Oh, Paula got another raise." "Oh, Paula bought a new car." Like any of us care? "But we need her money," Dad said, his voice lower but still audible. "What if she decided to stop helping? Where would we be then?" "Stuck. With this mortgage, that's where," Mom replied, "and Lily and Jake would be out on the street." It's like paying a tax, Lily chimed in with a dramatic sigh. We smile and nod at her boring stories, and in return, she covers our bills. Have you seen her apartment? Mom continued. All that money, and it looks like a furniture. Showroom, no personality, just like her. I stopped the video, unable to watch anymore. My hands shook and tears burned my eyes. Every word felt like a dagger. The gift box with the Mexico trip now seemed pathetic. I had spent weeks planning this surprise, excited to see Mom's reaction when she opened it. And all this time, my phone beeped with a calendar reminder. Mom's birthday dinner in a few hours. I stared at it, feeling empty inside. My first instinct was to cancel, to crawl into bed, and never face any of them again. But as the initial shock faded, something else arose, anger, white-hot and clarifying. They wanted my money, but not me. Fine, I'd give them exactly what they desired. One last display of generosity, then nothing ever again. I spent the next hour replaying snippets of the video in my mind, while I gathered proof of my family's financial reliance on me. My banking app displayed a clear pattern: monthly transfers for my parents' mortgage, consistent payments for Lily and Jake's rent, plus countless emergency cash transfers whenever they claimed to be in trouble. In the past 2 years alone, I'd given over $78,000 to my family. Seeing that number in black and white made me feel physically ill, not because of the money itself, but due to what it represented: years of manipulation. I printed out every transaction, organizing them by recipient and date. Then I took the itinerary for the Mexico trip and drew a thick red line through it, writing "canceled" across the page in bold letters. I placed everything into the gift box I had originally prepared for Mom, wrapping it with the same fancy paper. It looked identical to the gift I had intended to give her just hours ago, but its contents were entirely different. The video had been sent anonymously, and I could not figure out who might have recorded it. The angle suggested someone sitting at the table, but who would betray my family's trust like that? And why send it to me now, just before Mom's birthday? Celebration? Regardless, I was grateful for the truth, however painful. I downloaded the video to my phone to ensure I would have it ready at the restaurant. My hands had stopped shaking, replaced by a cold, steady determination. I checked my appearance in the bathroom mirror. I looked the same as always, perhaps a bit paler. No visible sign of the earthquake that had just shattered my world. The drive to Bellini's took 20 minutes. The restaurant's private dining room was already lively when I arrived. Mom sat at the head of the table, wearing the blue dress I had bought her last Christmas. Dad was next to her, his arm around her shoulders. Lily and Jake stood nearby, champagne glasses in hand, laughing with some relatives. The scene appeared so perfectly normal, so loving. Mom spotted me, and her face lit up with a smile that I now recognized as entirely fake. She hurried over and enveloped me in a hug. "Paula, you're finally here? I was starting to worry." I returned her hug mechanically. "Happy birthday, Mom." I moved to the table and took my seat, placing the gift box carefully beside me. It would wait for the right moment. The waiter brought out appetizers, and conversations flowed around me. I barely participated, offering only minimal responses when directly addressed. No one seemed to notice anything amiss, or if they did, they attributed it to my usual dull personality. Mom clinked her glass to get everyone's attention. Before we really get started, I just want to thank my wonderful daughter Paula for arranging this beautiful dinner. She's always so generous. The gathered family members turned to smile at me. I saw it now, the calculation behind their eyes, the thin veneer of appreciation that had nothing to do with me as a person and everything to do with what I provided. The appetizers gave way to the entree, then dessert. Throughout it all, I remained quiet, watching, observing their interactions with newfound clarity. When Dad casually mentioned a kitchen renovation they were considering, I caught the quick glance exchanged with Mom, another project they expected me to fund. When the time came for gifts, relatives presented Mom with the usual scented candles, jewelry, and bottles of wine. She accepted each one with practiced delight. Finally, it was my turn. "Before I give my gift," I said, standing up, "I'd like to share something with everyone." The room quieted. I took out my phone and connected it to the small projector I had asked the restaurant to provide, claiming I wanted to show family photos. "I received a very interesting video today," I continued, my voice surprisingly steady. "I think you'll all find it enlightening." I pressed play. The familiar scene appeared on the wall. My family around the dinner table, wine glasses in hand. I watched their expressions shift from confusion to shock to horror as their own voices filled the room, revealing their true feelings about me. Mom's face lost all color. Dad stared at the floor. Lily's mouth hung open in disbelief. The other relatives shifted uncomfortably, some avoiding eye contact with the screen while others couldn't tear their gaze away from the unfolding disaster. When I finally stopped the video, a heavy silence enveloped the room. Mom broke the silence first. "Paula, sweetheart, you've misunderstood everything. We were just joking around." "It's obviously been manipulated," Lily added quickly. "Someone used one of those AI programs to fake our voices." "That's right," Jake nodded vigorously. "This is clearly a fake." The other relatives murmured in agreement, eager to defuse the situation. Everyone wanted to believe it wasn't real, that a family couldn't possibly be so two-faced. Then a voice spoke from the back of the room. "It's not fake." Everyone turned to look at Aunt Claire, Mom's sister. She stood up, shoulders squared. "I recorded that video last weekend," she stated flatly. "Every word is real." Mom's shock morphed into rage. "You did this! How dare you?" "I've listened to you talk about Paula like that for years," Aunt Claire replied. I couldn't take it anymore. She reached into her purse and pulled out several sheets of paper. "And here are printouts from your private family chat group, the one Paula doesn't know about." She handed the papers around the table. I took one, my hands numb. It was a screenshot of a messaging app with my family's names clearly visible. "Mom just called. She's paying for the restaurant for my birthday. We should ask her about a new washing machine next week." "Good idea," Lily replied. "Jake needs new tires too." "Dad, don't push too hard, too fast. Let her think it was her idea." Just bore her with praise about her promotion. Works every time. Lowell. I looked up from the paper to see Mom's face contorted with fury. "This is a violation of privacy," she shouted at Aunt Claire. "You had no right to share our private conversations. I could sue you for this." "I haven't even given you my gift yet, Mom," I said, my voice cutting through her tirade. "Open it." With trembling hands, she tore off the paper and lifted the lid. Her eyes widened as she saw the canceled Mexico trip and the stack of financial records. $78,436, I announced to the room. "That's how much I've spent on my family in the last 2 years alone. And this is how they repay me." I stood up, gathering my purse. "From now on, you're on your own. And Mom, if you sue Aunt Claire, I'll hire the best lawyer in the state to defend her." The room erupted into chaos. Mom burst into tears. Dad tried to calm her. Lily screamed that I was being selfish and cruel. Some relatives looked ashamed, while others seemed almost pleased by the drama. I drove home in a blur, barely aware of the traffic lights or other cars. My phone buzzed with notifications, texts, calls, voicemails, all from my family. I ignored them all. Once home, I locked the door behind me and collapsed onto the couch. The numbness began fading, replaced by a surge of emotions: betrayal, hurt, anger, and shame. Had I been so eager for family connection that I had willingly blinded myself to their manipulation? How had I not seen it before? I dragged myself to the bathroom and turned the shower on as hot as I could tolerate. As steam filled the room, I stepped under the water, hoping it would wash away the memory of their faces, their voices, their laughter at my expense. It didn't. By the time I emerged, my phone displayed 37 missed calls and twice that many text messages. I scrolled through them briefly. "Mom, please call me. This is all a misunderstanding." "Dad, you're overreacting. We need to talk this through." "Lily, how could you humiliate us like that? You're the selfish one." "Jake, your sister is crying because of you. Hope you're happy." The messages grew increasingly desperate as the night wore on. "Mom, we never meant to hurt you. Please answer." "Dad, the mortgage payment is due next week. We need to discuss this." "Lily, you know we can't afford rent without you. Don't be vindictive." I had never ignored their calls before. I was always available, ready to help, eager to... Please, no more. I opened my banking app and canceled all recurring transfers to my parents and sister. Then I blocked their numbers on my phone. For the first time in years, I felt I could breathe freely. My apartment, which Mom had criticized for lacking personality, suddenly felt like a sanctuary. Every piece of furniture, every decoration reflected my choices, not someone else's expectations. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter despite barely having slept. I went to work, immersed myself in projects, and somehow made it through the day without checking my phone. 2 days passed in this way. I kept busy, avoided social media, and tried not to dwell on what my family might be doing or saying without my financial support. On the third day, I received a call from Aunt Claire. "Paula, can we meet somewhere to talk?" We agreed on a small cafe halfway between our homes. When I arrived, she was already there, nursing a cup of tea. She looked tired but managed to smile when she saw me. I slid into the seat across from her. "Why did you do it?" I asked without preamble. Aunt Claire sighed. "I've watched them take advantage of you for years. Every family gathering, every holiday, they acted like they adored you when you were around. The moment you left, the masks came off." She stirred her tea absently. "I wanted to say something so many times, but you seemed happy. You believed in this idea of your family that wasn't real, and I wasn't sure if it was my place to shatter that illusion." I stared down at the table. "So what changed?" "That dinner last weekend was the final straw. The things they said about you, I couldn't stand it anymore. I recorded it on impulse, not sure what I'd do with it. Then I heard about your big gift for Mom's birthday, and I knew I had to show you the truth before you spent even more on people who didn't appreciate you." We talked for over an hour. She filled me in on family dynamics I had never noticed, how my parents had gradually increased their financial demands over the years, how Lily had learned to manipulate me by playing on my desire for closeness with my only sibling. Patterns I had been blind to suddenly became clear. Before we parted, I hugged Aunt Claire tightly. "Thank you," I whispered, "for telling me the truth when no one else would." Days turned into weeks, then months. My life settled into a new rhythm. Work, friends, occasional dates, and hobbies I had neglected for too long. I had never realized how much mental space my family had occupied until they weren't in it anymore. Through the grapevine of extended family, I heard bits and pieces about them. Mom and Dad were struggling with the mortgage, having missed 2 payments, and the bank was sending warnings. Lily and Jake had been forced to move to a smaller apartment in a less desirable neighborhood. I felt a twinge of guilt, quickly followed by resolve. They were adults. They'd figure it out. Some relatives sided with my family, calling me heartless for cutting them off. Others understood my position, especially those who had witnessed the birthday dinner revelation. I maintained relationships with the latter group, including Aunt Claire, who became a surrogate mother figure for me. 6 months after the confrontation, I was leaving my office building when I spotted a familiar figure waiting by the entrance. It was Lily, looking thinner than I remembered, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. My first instinct was to turn around and find another exit, but she had already seen me. I steeled myself and continued walking, my expression carefully neutral. "Paula," she called out as I approached. "Please just give me 5 minutes." I stopped a few feet away from her. "What do you want, Lily?" She twisted her hands, nervously. "I came to apologize for everything. We were wrong to treat you that way." I said nothing, just waited. There would be more. There always was with Lily. "Mom and Dad are really struggling with the mortgage," she continued, her voice growing desperate. "And I'm pregnant, 4 months along. Jake and I had to move to a cheaper apartment because we couldn't afford our place anymore." I had suspected her apology wasn't genuine. Now I knew for certain. "Congratulations on the baby," I replied flatly. "Is that all?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Please, Paula, we need your help. Just until the baby comes. Until we get back on our feet. We've learned our lesson, I swear." I looked at my sister. Really looked at her. Behind the tears and the pregnancy, I could still see the calculation in her eyes. The same look she had when asking for money before. Nothing had changed except their circumstances. "No," I said simply. Her face hardened instantly. "You heartless bastard. Your own family is suffering and you don't even care." I walked past her toward my car, her shouted obscenities following me across the parking lot. Once inside, I took a deep breath and started the engine. I felt nothing for the sister I once loved so dearly. No anger, no pity, not even sadness, just emptiness. A year and a half had passed since that confrontation with Lily outside my office. Life moved on, as it always does. I received a promotion at work, took up hiking on weekends, and even started dating someone. A quiet, thoughtful man named David, who valued honesty above all else. Through my occasional contact with Aunt Claire, and the handful of relatives I still kept in touch with, I heard snippets about my former family. Mom and Dad were consistently behind on their mortgage payments, living under the constant threat of foreclosure, but somehow always managing to scrape by at the last minute. Lily had given birth to a boy and moved back in with our parents to save money. Jake was working 2 jobs but still complaining about never having enough. They had all adapted to life without my financial support, though not gracefully. Sometimes, usually late at night, I would wonder if I'd made the right choice. Cutting them off completely had been harsh, perhaps unnecessarily so. Then I would remember the video, their laughing faces, and their mocking words, and the doubt would vanish. They had never loved me. They had loved what I could provide. There's a world of difference. Last Christmas, I received holiday cards from both Mom and Lily. Mom's was formal, almost businesslike, with no personal message beyond the pre-printed greeting. Lily's included a photo of her son, my nephew, and a brief note saying she hoped we could someday reconcile for his sake. Neither mentioned money directly, but the implication hung heavy between the lines. I sent no cards in return. During a tiamba spring dinner with Aunt Claire, she mentioned that Mom had reached out to her, seeking reconciliation. She claims she's realized her mistakes, Aunt Claire said, skepticism evident in her voice. She says she misses having you in her life. I raised an eyebrow. Did she happen to mention this before or after asking if you knew about my financial situation? Aunt Claire smiled ruefully. Of course, some things never change. In the months that followed, there were more attempts. Emails from Dad, explaining how they had misunderstood each other. A letter from Lily detailing the hardships of raising a child without adequate resources. Each message was carefully crafted to invoke guilt without explicitly asking for money. I deleted the emails and threw away the letters without responding. One Sunday morning, while shopping at the farmer's market, I literally bumped carts with Lily. She looked older, more worn down, with dark circles under her eyes. The baby, now a toddler, sat in the cart playing with a toy. For a moment, we just stared at each other, both too surprised to speak. Her son looked up at me with curious eyes that reminded me of my own in childhood photos. A small part of me ached at the realization that I didn't know his name and probably never would. Lily recovered first. She straightened her shoulders and nodded stiffly. "Paula." "Lily," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. The child babbled something, reaching toward a display of apples. Lily absently handed him one, her gaze never leaving my face. I expected more manipulative pleas, maybe tears or accusations. Instead, she simply said, "We're doing okay, without your money." "I'm glad to hear that," I answered, surprised to find that I meant it. She hesitated, then pushed her cart past mine. "Goodbye, Paula." "Goodbye," I echoed, watching them disappear around the corner. That brief encounter affected me more than I expected, not because I missed them or regretted my decision, but because I realized how completely my life had moved on without them. They were strangers now, people I had once known but no longer needed. The last update I heard came from Cousin Mark at Aunt Claire's birthday dinner last month. Apparently Dad had found better paying work, and they had managed to refinance the mortgage. Lily was taking online classes while raising her son, hoping to finally earn a degree. They were struggling but surviving, just like millions of other families who didn't have a relative to bankroll their lives. Sometimes people ask if I miss having a family. The question always strikes me as odd. I do have a family. It's just smaller now and built on genuine connections rather than obligation or financial dependence. Aunt Claire, my handful of supportive relatives, my close friends, David, they're my family now. The people who see me for who I am, not what I can give them. As for Mom, Dad, and Lily, I don't hate them anymore. I don't feel much of anything toward them, to be honest. They shaped my early life for better or worse. But they're not part of my story now, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I still have the video Aunt Claire sent me. I've never watched it again, but I keep it as a reminder, not of their betrayal, but of my own worth, of the lesson I learned that day. Last week, I finalized plans for a trip to Mexico, the same destination I'd once intended to send my parents to. But this time, I'm going with David and two of our closest friends. When I booked it, there was no twinge of regret, no wistful thoughts about what might have been, just excitement for the adventure ahead. That's how I know I've truly moved on. My life isn't defined by what I lost or left behind. It's built on what I've found and what I've chosen. People who value me for exactly who I am, not what I can do for them.